If only they knew. The hub for young business minds.
Yes, people, it's Ted Lawler from If Only They Knew, the hub for young business minds. And on today's episode, we've got Ella Ringrose, who's the 22-year-old entrepreneur and YouTuber who's helping over 100,000 people on their spiritual and self-development journeys. Now, in this episode, we speak about the power of manifestation and visualization and dive deeper into just how powerful we as individuals can be. So if you're looking to get into a better state of mind, this is the podcast for you. Right, so thank you firstly for coming on. For those listening now, if you don't mind briefly explaining who you are and what you do, then we'll dive deeper into it all.
Yeah, so my name is Ella Ringrose. I'm 22, just turned 22. So I'm a full-time entrepreneur, YouTuber, mindset coach, podcaster. I've got a couple of businesses and I help people understand spirituality, women especially, mainly, yeah.
Yeah, mainly, yeah. And it was your birthday last week, I think I heard in your latest podcast, is it? Or a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah,
yeah.
September 30th. So I just turned 22. Yeah.
Nice. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's all right. So normally with my guests, I think it's always good to rewind the clocks a bit and understand who they once were to then understand who they are now and how that transition sort of went for them. And I think it's especially important in your case because you like many people, it looks like, especially me as well, like going through that weird transition where you're getting into all these different things you were sort of never into before. But before we get into that sort of awakening, if you want to call it something, I think awakening is probably the best term. But yeah, before we get into that, if you don't mind explaining a bit more what you was like when you was, I say, younger. I'm 22 as well. We're both very young still, but at school. Yeah.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, I made it this far. So yeah, but if you don't mind explaining a bit more about like what you was like at school and yeah, what you was into. Was you quiet? Was you bubbly? And just sort of see the contrast to where you are now, really.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, my story, I won't go to the very youngest, but when I went into school, like, first off, I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic. So
Right.
From the get-go, I had this like belief that I was very stupid. Like, it was just something in school I really, really struggled, and I felt no one else in the class was the same. So I was failing everything. Like, I was the most careless person when it came to school. I wouldn't study anything. I refused. I would fail everything. I just had this like belief that I was stupid. And I just really, really struggled in school. I found it like really, really difficult. And so for so long, I was like, like the monkey mind or like that little voice in your head. Obviously everyone has that, right?
Yeah.
But I thought something was wrong with me for so many years because no one ever speaks like about how they feel or like what's going on in their mind, right? So when I was struggling, like ever since I remember literally since I remember going to school, I'd cry every day. Like, I just found it so difficult to fit in with people. I didn't fit in that well in my school, like, at all. I struggled in the like academic part as well, I guess. But I was such a fiction nerd. Like, I was always reading books. Like, I was just very reserved. And so I struggled in school and I started to think like something was wrong with me because no one else was talking about how they were feeling. I was literally like, there's like this bully in my mind, like I'm going crazy, like this is crazy. Like, I just felt so isolated. So when I was 17, I actually couldn't take it anymore. So I dropped out of school. So completely cold turkey. Like, I remember the last day, I'm very much someone that when they make up their mind, like there's no going back. Like, no one can tell me. So I went into school one day and I was just like, I'm not coming back here. Like, my parents, like, I didn't care what my parents were going to say. I just was in math class. I remember sitting in the back and being like, I'm not working because I'm not coming in tomorrow. And so I didn't tell anyone in my year. Like, I didn't tell anyone because I struggled really hard to like fit in with people. Like, I couldn't find like my clique. So I always kind of thought there was something wrong with me or there was something not different, because it wasn't like a good thing. Like, it was like I just thought something was wrong with me. Like, I had this voice in my mind that was bullying me. I was dyslexic, dyspraxic. I thought I was dumb, like all of these sort of things. So I left school and I started working like minimum wage jobs galore. I had 8 minimum wage jobs before the age of 20. And at that time I was just going out drinking. Like, I was so lost. I thought I was like going to be a failure for the rest of my life. Like, I thought I was really, really dumb because of this stigma that I was dyslexic. So from a very young age, teachers teaching you a certain way and like giving you more special attention. In my mind, I went, oh, okay, I'm different because like everyone else is being taught a different way. So that's how I acted out in my life. Like I was manifesting that, like failing my grades and everything like that, because now I look at myself, I'm not stupid, but at the time that's what I thought. So I was just really lost. I was working minimum wage. I went into like do some beautician courses. I dropped out of those. Like I just couldn't stay consistent with anything. And so obviously like I would beat myself up and all of this. And then one day I was 17 years old. My brother handed me a self-development book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. And this like opened my mind up to this whole world. Before I didn't even know what self-development was like at all. So I read that book, and I'd always been obsessed with YouTube ever since I was 12. Always been an obsession of mine. But again, I was so scared of what people thought, like such a fear of mine. So like the thought of starting YouTube wasn't even in my radar. Like I was not doing that, especially in Ireland. Like I was like, I'm going to be bullied. So I read that book, and within one day, I remember I was on the train going out to my friends, and I actually got off the train, came back home after I'd finished the book in one day, and I started my YouTube channel that day. So from like procrastinating for 5 years to do my YouTube channel to reading a first self-development book and realizing that this fear was all just in my mind and just starting it. It was like this obsession that just started in mine with self-development, because I was like, no one's ever told me this. Like obviously my mom and my brother and all are very supportive, but like no one really kind of told me like this is all an illusion and everyone else feels this way as well, because I thought I was the only one. And so after that, my brother, he was a drop shipper. So like he was in the kind of hustle, like entrepreneur space. So like he was a great role model for me. And so I remember he ordered about 100 self-development books, and he kept them in the like our bookshelf in the home. And so I started reading one after the other, going to my minimum wage jobs. I was reading them on my lunch break. I became obsessed. Like I was reading like, you know, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, like the 4-Hour Work Week. I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make YouTube my business. Like I want to have a business on YouTube. So I always set that intention for years, but I really worked hard with YouTube and nothing happened for years. And then one day our family, we lost our home. We had to move out. So I had a day's notice to find my own place, to make my own living for myself and everything like that at 20 years old. And so it was very much like a shock to the system. But now I look back, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me, because it really lit a fire under me, because I had no really academics behind me or anything, especially even on my CV, quitting jobs one after the other. So I booked a one-way ticket and I moved to Canada by myself. And I moved into my own place with like $2,000 in savings, like scraping by paycheck to paycheck. And I started working minimum wage job in a gym. And I said I was going to devote 1 year to my business and work on my spirituality and my self-development and like isolate myself. Like when I say isolate myself, I literally mean like I would get up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., go to work, do my work, then work out in the gym for 2 hours, come home, do YouTube videos or do YouTube videos, work my business. And, you know, I started doing mindset coaching because I was obsessed with all of this sort of stuff, but I still had like a lot of imposter syndrome, because here am I talking about self-development when I'm struggling financially and like, I don't know how to like, prove myself, right? Like, so I'm here like preaching all this stuff and then like, I'm like scraping by, I'm struggling, like all of this sort of stuff. But I gave it 1 year, and then basically over the past 5 months, my business just went from I made an ebook, a confidence ebook a year ago, and I sold 3. And then within the past 5 months, like my channel's nearly 100,000 subscribers. We just hit 6 figures. From going last year, I earned about $1,000 in my business in an entire year to hitting 6 figures in like 5 months. And just persistence really. But it kind of, everything just kind of happened overnight. But you know what people say, it's like an overnight success that took like 3 years in the making. It really, years in the making. I spent so much time with YouTube trying to like figure out all the different niches and do all of these sort of things. But I got my business just kind of worked in the end, because I just started really taking it seriously and implementing all of these like spiritual activities, like implementing just as much self-development as I could into me as a person and my self-image. And that's just started to, align externally in my world. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. So yeah.
We will definitely dive into a bit more, but I think one thing that it sort of sparked in me, it sparked the question, like you said that you felt you was almost like completely different to everyone at school, and you felt like you was almost on like a different path, and it made me think, do do you think that this sort of journey is for everyone, or do you think certain people sort of almost get not picked, but you know what I mean? Like it feels like
Yeah,
certain
yeah, yeah, yeah.
naturally
Like
gravitate towards.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, like the idea of, I think entrepreneurship, but also the fact that you're sort of looking for more in yourself, like with the spiritual stuff and the mindset stuff and then the business stuff as well. It's almost like a trio that connects it all together. So like, yeah, do
Yeah.
you think that people are sort of, I guess, destined for certain paths like that, or do you think anyone can sort of pick this up?
I really think like anyone can pick this up, but I think a lot of people think it's like the business tactics. I don't think it's that at all. I really think it's the self-love for yourself, like the belief in yourself. And a lot of people will say, oh, I have a great business idea, but they don't have the mindset for it. And so I think if you become obsessed in the more mindset element, you can, and you, like anyone can do have anything they desire if they really believe it. But a lot of people don't believe that. So I don't know if it's necessarily because from a very young age, when I was born, I couldn't walk. And so I was in a wheelchair for my childhood. I was in and out of hospital all my childhood. And I don't know if from the get-go, I felt very different because I was in a wheelchair, right? So like, I just remember being different from the get-go. So I don't know if that's necessarily my life path, but I do think it does take a certain type of person for entrepreneurship. But then again, the people who are listening to this who want to be an entrepreneur, then that means that it's their calling, right? Do you know what I mean? Because the people who aren't interested in entrepreneurship, they're just not going to pay attention to it. But the people who do have any spark of desire, they can do it if they desire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it definitely is a certain type of person. I think we're really used to instant gratification nowadays. Like with, you know, getting like likes and texts and everything like that, we think everything's going to happen overnight, and it's not. Even though I teach manifestation and law of attraction and like I could like all of that sort of stuff, I do say there is a time delay because, you know, a lot of people might go into the intention of like, oh, I'm going to start YouTube, and then they put up like 2 videos and then it's like tumbleweeds, and they're like, oh, like it frightens them because it's not like what they expected. And so I think the biggest thing is just having a lot of belief in yourself, and that takes practice, because I went from having like the lowest self-esteem a few years ago. So I think it's a practice, really. If you devote yourself to the practice, it'll pay off. Yeah.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. I think you worded it much better than I did. It's definitely, it's just about how you apply yourself to it. But in talking of that, like how would you suggest that someone who's listening to this, and like you said, they may have started a YouTube channel, uploaded 2 videos, and just not been able to apply themselves fully to it, or whether it, you know, no matter what it is, even if it's something small like reading the book, they get halfway through it and think, I can't be bothered. Like, what's your advice for those people, like to get them to sort of see something through to the end?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting you say about reading half a book, because like I used to be that way as well. Like I'd read half a book and throw it away. And I remember coming across this video on YouTube of a girl being like, signs you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. And for some reason I watched it. And one of them was like, if you read half a book. And I went, no, like I can't be an entrepreneur. Like, and I started panicking. And it was really, I think the answer to that is like, don't give your power away to, you know, I think people care a lot what people think, like regardless, we all do. Like I still I'm terrified of what certain people think. And I think it comes down to, again, you know, whatever story is playing out in your mind. Like if you're saying like, oh, I'd love to be an entrepreneur, but I can't because that's just a story that you're creating. Like you have to change that if you want to succeed, I guess, because we all have limitations and limiting beliefs within us and stories that we cling our identity to. Like for me, being dyslexic and dyspraxic and failing all my life, I thought I was really stupid. And it wasn't until, and I did want to create something. Like I didn't want to be a minimum wage worker for the rest of my life. And I have nothing against people who are, but for me, it just wasn't once. I wanted to create something. And so it had to be me changing my story, because by you doubting yourself, there's no absolute benefit from that whatsoever. It's very fear driven. But when you kind of just go in with the aim of like, I can do this, and just believing in yourself and showing up for yourself with persistence. And I don't necessarily say hard work. I know a lot of like, I think because I started off in the more like success, like I was obsessed with like Grant Cardone and Ty Lopez, like real like success. And now I'm definitely more like into spirituality. Like I'm so far from that now, but a lot of people were like, it's hard work, like blood, sweat and tears. I don't agree with that either. Like I just think if you have the belief in yourself, you set the intention and you work towards that each day with belief in yourself, like you can get there. And I think it's also the biggest piece of advice I heard was never take advice from someone who doesn't have what you want. So like, if you're listening to someone who's giving you financial advice and they're broke, it's like, and it's scary advice, right? Like, you know, some people give you advice like, oh, like maybe you've gotten like, oh, you shouldn't start a podcast, like it's not going to go anywhere, like whatever. Like, do they have a podcast that's successful? You know, and if you actually listen to the people who have succeeded, they literally will do everything. Like, they will encourage you so much because they've gone through the path and they realize it's not that hard. Like, it literally just takes persistence. Like, if you want to start an online business, don't listen to your uncle who doesn't have an online business, right? Like, go to the people who have what you want. So that's really what I'd say. Like, just find someone and kind of look up to them. Like, realize we're not different at all. Like, we're all one. Like, we literally all came into this world the same way. Like, we're no different from each other. So finding someone who they have what you desire, and just believing in yourself and changing the outdated story, if you will.
Yeah, you mentioned something in one of your previous videos, I think it was, and you said basically if you look at it from this perspective, it may sort of help you a bit. Like, life is basically a game, and you're essentially the creator of your destiny within that game, and you can sort of see it as you take that role on board. So rather than letting everything else and everybody else's comments sort of shape who you are and what you do, i.e. what the example you gave, people talking about coaching and stuff like that, or podcasts and telling you what to do, what not to do. If you look at it as if you are the creator and you can take on whatever you want to do, I think that's a much better way of looking at it. You know, avoid that self-sabotage, I guess.
No, completely. Like, thoughts become things. Like, literally whatever you are thinking, you are creating. You're in the creation process. We're always creating. Like, and you know, when people let external comments get to them, that's when they have the choice to either repel that and like not take it to them, or they can then digest that and then attract that. Because like, if someone says, oh, you're going to fail, and they go, oh God, like I am going to fail, like, oh, they know I'm a failure deep down, they can see me for who I really am, like all of this sort of stuff. Like, you are the only one who actually is not responsible, I don't want to say that, but like, you are the only one who can create what you desire. And you can choose to let other people get in. Because like, I had so much people telling me like, you dropped out of school. Like, I remember when I dropped out of school, a girl was like a girl was like 2 years older than me. She's like, Anna, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're so stupid. I remember another guy was like, oh, you were so stupid. You're so dumb. Go back to college. Like, you're going to be broke for the rest of your life. Like, so much people. But I was just like, no, like, I'm not listening to them. This is my life. Like, I don't want to live this 9-to-5 job that I don't want to work this job. Like, I want to do what I want to do. And so just like listening to what you want, because everyone has the answers within. And I think a lot of people, they seek externally for answers. They're always asking for validation and asking other people for advice. Like, oh, should I start a YouTube channel? And then someone says no, and they go, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't. Like, do what you want to do. Like, don't, like, it's just one of those things. It takes practice, but when you listen to yourself and you just follow what you do, that's when your self-worth really goes up. Because when we go against our morals, we start devaluing ourselves, and then we are telling our mind and ourselves that we're not that important, and that other people's opinions are more important than our own. But you know, everyone, if you look around, everyone's struggling, everyone's going through their own demons and their own things. And I think a lot of people think that everyone else is perfect and they're the only one behind, and they put everyone on pedestals. But in reality, everyone's like little children in human bodies, just trying to figure the way out through life, and just have fun with it. Like, I always say, like, don't make this like a horrible thing. And again, I used to watch those like gurus, and they'd be like, this is hard work, this is tough. And like, that didn't feel right with me. Like, I didn't want to do it that way. So I think once I chose to just have fun with it and like align with joy, and just not worry about the external, how many views I was getting at the time or how many streams I was getting, because like, after 3 years on YouTube, I was getting 100 views a video, which felt a little bit discouraging, right? Yeah. But I was like, no, like, I'm going to detach from this because I am a YouTuber. Like, just because, like, a lot of people they'll say, oh, I'm going to be a YouTuber when I have this many views or this many subscribers. But you need to switch that. Like, you have to change your identity to I'm a YouTuber now, and then just wait for the external world to align with that, really. So it's just choosing who you want to be, and then just visualizing that, and just being it, doing what you want to do, because you can create whatever you desire through your mind.
No, I agree with that as well. And like, especially if you, on that point you just made about sort of having that mindset of I want this and I need to have this and stuff like that. It seems like it always puts you in that position where you're one behind, because you're telling yourself you don't have those things yet, and you're still chasing them, which is good to chase. But by saying, like with that YouTube example, like by saying, oh, I'm not a YouTuber yet until I get this, or I get this external validation. By saying that, you're constantly going to be putting yourself in the position of not being a YouTuber. So you need to put, I feel personally, you need to put yourself like now, like you need to put yourself in that moment and say, I am a YouTuber, I am a podcaster, I am whatever you want to be. You are it today. And it, like you said, let everything else come.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if you believe, like, because I teach law of attraction. So that was like the biggest thing for me that like grew my channel, was when I just said, I am a YouTuber. And I just wrote an email this morning, which kind of is very, to what you're saying. I wrote, like, a lot of people, for example, we'll use the example of money, I guess. People look at their bank account, and if it's not the money they want, they'll say, I am broke. Like, they'll have that identity of like, I am broke. And then you're just manifesting more of being broke, because it's the way you view the world. It's what you perceive. It's what you attract. But a lot of people, they think that in order to change who they want to be, they have to change externally first. Like, oh, I have to have this much money to feel worthy, or I have to have this much money to feel rich, or this many subscribers to feel successful. When in the law of attraction, like, you need to flip that. Like, you need to feel, because you have all the feelings you want to feel right now within you. So if you want to be wealthy, which is something I desired money for so long, I had to flip it to, I feel wealthy now, and like visualize and imagine I already was wealthy. And then surely enough, like, my external world, like, I started getting money like very fast once I started flipping that. And so a lot of people use like one of the greatest gifts against them. They seek externally to like then feel internally, but it's the other way around. You have to feel internally in order to attract externally, basically. Yeah.
And a lot of that's good. And a lot of people sort of always use that example of money, but you sort of hinted towards it there. It's not just money like that. The idea of manifestation is about, is it like, it could be relationships, self-happiness, like whatever it is. It's a case of manifesting that, rather than just, it's not always about money, cars, and all the crazy Grant Cardone things, you know?
Oh no, it isn't. And I will say this here, like, I went through like a spiritual awakening a few months ago, and like, I hate saying this, like Grant Cardone, I remember he'd always give out to people who said this, but like, money will not bring you happiness. It is a byproduct of like what you're doing, your passion, that brings you happiness, or being your most fulfilled place. But money itself will not fulfill that for you. Like, but you can do like manifestation with so many things. Like, I just moved into my own apartment and I manifested this. Like, I literally just like imagined it was already coming, and it did. Like, I manifested my business, like my best friend, like so many different things, because you attract what you are, essentially. So if you're constantly dwelling on things that you don't have, you're just attracting more of that. And so it's basically whatever you desire, you already have to imagine that you have that. And then weird stuff will start to happen. Like, even example, I was like, oh, I'm going to start doing podcast interviews. I'll accept that intention. I started to feel like, okay, I'm going on podcast. I literally checked my Instagram. I got a message from you asking to go on podcast. Like, once it's crazy, because I know it's a little bit like woo woo, like a lot of people say that, but once you get into this, you will start to notice like all the synchronicities. It's really weird how, like, once you just embody that energy, things just start popping up, like opportunities left, right, and center. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And that's literally what I was just about to say. It's crazy. Like, even myself, I've been sort of introduced to it this past year. And already, like, the things that are happening, it's like, this cannot be a coincidence. Like, they're way too like crazy. And it's like, there's no way on earth this is a coincidence. This is like as a direct result of what I did the other week, and the positive thinking that I put in, and all the visualization and stuff like that. And then here it is in front of me, and it's sort of quite creepy, I guess, but it's quite exciting at the same time.
No, it is, because we're so programmed to be living in the 3D, which is like the physicality of this world. Like, oh, I have a phone. Like, if it, like, basically we've been programmed through the ego, which is the fear. Like, if it's not in front of us, it's not real. So like, if I want money, like, let's say, again, I'm just going to go back to the example of a relationship. Let's say, you desire a relationship and you go, oh God, I'm single. You're highlighting the fact that you don't have that within you now. Like, you don't have it externally. So people, like, let's say you're like, oh, I'm trying to manifest a relationship, and you go, oh, I'm in a relationship. Someone could go, you're not in a relationship, so why should you say that? Because it's not here right now. And so a lot of people are like in the coincidental mindset, where they think everything is just a coincidence because it's like the physicality. But when you go into the realm of like, there is like, we all have an energy field, and there is every single thing in this world is energy at the deepest level. The animals, the water, the microphone, like every single thing in this world is energy, and everything is polarity. So whatever you put out gets a reaction. So I like to think of my thoughts, everything I do, it's like a boomerang. Like whatever you put out, you're going to get back. And I even say for people who are like skeptics, if you keep a journal and just take note of little synchronicities, you'll notice them stack up. And it becomes like creepy at the start, but then after you just realize it's like actually magical. Because at the start I was like, this is so weird. Like I think this and then this pops up, or like all of these sort of things. But then you can realize like that's the way life is meant to be. And so much people use it against them. They are always focusing on what they don't want. And it's constantly what's happening, and it's what a lot of people do. They use it against them, and then when they hear law of attraction, they shut it down. They're like, oh, I don't want to hear about that crap. And I'm like, well, ever since I've started implementing it, my life has like drastically changed. So I think people having an open mind is like the best way. So that's incredible that you're getting into it. Yeah.
Thank you. Before we go into journaling, because that's something I did want to speak about as well. I think just on that point, like in terms of like you said, the coincidences, like with me, I've been looking at getting this car as a symbol of when I'm bringing out a new product soon. And when that sort of goes well, I'm going to like get that car as a sort of token of doing well, if that makes sense. Almost like a sign of, okay, it went well. Ever since I started thinking of that car,
I see it
everywhere 20 times a day, like minimum. If I just drive down to like the local Tesco's or whatever, I'll see it 3 or 4 times, and on the way back once or twice, and then out my window a couple of times. And it's like, it's a sign everywhere. So it's coming, I guess. Would you say it's coming? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like my mom manifested her car. Like if you just set the like it's so real. Like the apartment I'm in, like I wrote out exactly how I want it to be. And it's everything I'd written down, like everything to the last detail, exactly the location, like it was just crazy. But when you set the intention, you'll start to notice it. And a lot of people, again, have the ego mind with like, oh, that's a coincidence. It like, you can believe that, but like, it's not. Like, I know that's a bit biased of an answer, but it's not. Like it's a sign. It's on its way for sure.
Oh yeah, hopefully. I'm so glad you said that. I got a bit of I don't know, like what's the word? Like, you know, when you get like that sort of weird feeling come over you, because it's like
rush of energy. Yeah.
That's it. But yeah, talking of journaling, how important has that been for you? Because I know watching your videos for probably like the past few months, I guess I've seen how many books you have, like how many notebooks of all different colors and sizes. So yeah, how do you sort of use that, and how important has that been?
Oh my God, journaling is like I've been to therapy, I've done everything, and like journaling literally was like what changed my life. So I started off when I again started going self-development, I really studied the successful. Like I was really studying them, and they all had one thing in common, which was a morning routine, and in specific a gratitude list. They always say gratitude list. And so I started writing a gratitude list once a week when I was 17, and then I just started writing down my thoughts and everything like that, because we're so used to the stories we tell ourselves on a daily basis. We think it's real. Like we think it's true. Like, oh, I'm not worthy of love, or, oh, I can never earn that much money. Like all of these like limitations that aren't real that we're creating. And when you actually write them out, you look at yourself and you're like, oh my God, I'm really mean to myself. Or like, oh my God, like this isn't true. And so by me, like being able to identify it, that like literally changed it transformed my life, because I do so many different things with journaling. I do journaling, gratitude list, and scripting. And scripting is writing your dream life, a day in the dream life that you want to manifest. And so by you writing it out, you're propelling into that energy, that frequency, you're feeling that energy, because like your body is the subconscious mind, and it can't tell the difference between when you're daydreaming or when you're actually living. I'm sure you've heard the lemon analogy, have you?
No, I haven't, no.
Okay, so if you close your eyes and you imagine like a lemon, a really juicy citrusy lemon going into your mouth, your mouth will like start salivating, like it'll start watering, because your mind literally thinks that a lemon is going to your mind. Because when you do like little activities like that, you realize your mind can't tell the difference between what's happening real and what's happening, because that's why your dreams feel so real, right? You know, when you wake up from a dream, you're like, I thought that was real. It's the same with the way you're thinking. Your body can't tell the difference. And so scripting is something I've done to like manifest my business, like my income every single month, like just aligning with that energy and allowing that to come in. It always works. But journaling is like, I would recommend everyone keep a journal. And it's not like oh, dear diary, like you don't have to do it like that, but literally just me writing out my thoughts. It's like a form of meditation for me. It calms my mind. It's honestly just, it's been like the most incredible, obviously beside books and reading and like all of that sort of stuff, but it has been like the biggest thing that changed my life. And I do it for like an hour a day, maybe an hour and a half. It's huge for me. Yeah.
So like just so because I'm going to basically take this on board as well. I'm going to implement some of the things you say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with journaling, like you say an hour and a half a day, like some in the morning, some in the afternoon, or sort of spread out, or how does it sort of work?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's excessive for a lot of people. Like they do not need to do that. Like I started out, and I say this because a lot of people will go an hour a day. Like I've had some people, my clients, like an hour, like what? Like no, like you can do like 10 minutes. I even started off just doing it once a week for 10 minutes. And then I went up to 2 times a week and 3 times. And now I can't function without it. Like, but because I work from home, like I kind of just do it whenever at the desk. But I obviously know if people are listening, they're 9 to 5 or whatever. I would just suggest in the morning and then a little bit at night. So you can even write like half a page in the morning, half a page at night. Like it doesn't need to be excessive. As well with scripting, you can also just write it out and just read it if you don't have the time. Yeah. Like I did that. I wrote out my dream life and I just stuck it up on my wall and read it, because at the time when I was working in Canada, I was like, I had no time to be doing this in the morning. So it's just whatever works for you and whatever feels right. Like you don't, what works for me may not work for others. So just listen to your intuition and what that's telling you. But absolutely, at least like a page a day. Yeah, it's incredible.
No, it sounds good. I'm definitely going to get a journal and start writing.
Yeah.
And at the
you
same,
don't have one?
I do have one. I bought one, but it just, like it weren't the right structure for me. So I think I might create my own one, like just out of a blank notebook and sort of do it.
Oh yeah, you need like one that like you feel good with. Like oh my god, I honestly think I'll have like 100 within a few months. It's insane.
Oh wow. But it seems to be working. That's the good thing.
Yeah, no, it does. It does.
And look, when you're speaking about scripting there as well, it made me think about like vision boards. I've got a vision board in the corner of my room that I really need to put in a more prominent position. But yeah, what's your thoughts on vision boards, and do you have one?
They work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they work. Like right before I moved to Canada, I had a vision board, and exactly a year later, because I actually moved to Canada a year ago, it just hit a year ago. Every single thing, well, not every single thing, I think there's like 1 or 2 things, but literally every single thing manifested. Like I really wanted to make friends with people who had businesses when I moved over to Canada, and I met like really successful people. My YouTube channel kind of blew up. I had like a certain amount of money I wanted to earn, like just everything. Like I wanted to get more into health and fitness. I got a job in a gym at the time, and then I got really into the gym. Like just everything on the vision board manifested, because it's the same as visualization, it's the same as scripting. They all have the same core like the core reasoning behind all of them is all the same. It's just not tricking, but like aligning with the energy. So all of the tactics do the same thing. So it's not necessary that you do scripting, you do like all these things. Like I just do journaling and then I visualize, but like some people find it hard to visualize. So you can have a vision board. They're obviously fun to have, but yeah, no, mine, they always work. They work. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. And again, you're getting me excited now, because if I'm looking at my vision board thinking, even if one thing comes true, I'll be sorted,
Yeah, exactly. No, they really do. And I think also a lot of people hate this word, but it's like to have patience as well, because a lot of people might go, oh, like it's been 6 months, like nothing's happened, like this is BS, whatever. Like, no, like just stick at it, believe that it's going to happen, because it's possible, because it already physically exists in this world. Like whatever you desire, the reason you desire it is because you've seen it before, you know that it's possible. So it's already here. You just have to align with that frequency and let it all conspire externally for you to attract it. Yeah, no, it's already here. It already exists. So yeah.
If you haven't sort of noticed, I'm using you almost like as a therapist now. I'm thoughts and stuff. Like I'm sort of not. It wasn't planned like this, but that's just sort of how it's happened. I'm sort of getting my thoughts out and seeing what you think of it all.
Yeah, no, like I was even, I said earlier you were like, oh, you're 22, and I was like, congrats. I was saying that because like, I think like I have a podcast myself. I don't really interview people, but you just like being able to interview all these people, like that's like incredible for you as well. Like you're probably learning so much. Like I would like take full advantage of it as I can. And no, it's insane that you're doing that so young. Like I know I'm 22 as well, but like it's kind of something a lot of people don't kind of, I think it's great because people are actually starting to get into this so much more.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I think like my mom, for example, she only got into self-development in the past like 5-6 years. And she goes, Ella, like if I knew the stuff that you knew now, like my life would be so different. So like, I think it's incredible the more like young people like are learning about all of this sort of stuff. It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and the same with my mum. Like I said, I got into this whole world about a year ago, and I've recently started talking about it to my mum, and she's sort of like, oh, at first she was like, oh, okay, like, you know, when someone just doesn't understand, and then she's like, oh, isn't that thing you mentioned the other day, that manifestation? I'm like, yeah, that's it. And then now I've like slowly been teaching her. I bought her The Secret, you know, the book, and like all these weird things, and she's really got into it. And ever since she has, in the past few months, her life has just got more positive.
Oh
And
my God,
she's
that's
on the right
amazing.
track. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. It's amazing because we all have the power within us. Like it's always been there, but a lot of people, I mean, I could go down a conspiracy rabbit hole, but I feel like the society is like conformed a certain way to like make us not realize how powerful we really are. So that's incredible that she's able to be like change that within her.
That was one of my questions, actually, talking about how powerful we are. And when you mentioned about your brother giving you the book, it just made me think, from that example alone, it shows how powerful one person can be in terms of like sort of transferring knowledge over to someone else and bringing them on to this path. But yeah, you're right. Like even with someone like you're helping 100,000 or so, mostly females, but 100,000 people in general. You're helping sort of get onto this positive path.
Yeah, because I mean, when my brother introduced me to this, I was searching on YouTube for like female like girls who were reading Think and Grow Rich, and I couldn't find like any YouTubers. Like I literally couldn't find any girls, and I was like, I found like one girl called Mimi Bouchard, and at the time she was doing YouTube videos, kind of on success. She doesn't really do it anymore. She's very successful now though, like she's killing it, but she doesn't do YouTube anymore. But I remember watching her and like just having this like girl on the other side of the screen, like completely changed my life because I was able to relate to her. And so I was like, okay, this is what I want to start sharing, because like you may think like you're not help, like you may sometimes get doubts, but like just one person listening, you have no idea how much of an impact that can make on their life. And that girl Mimi probably doesn't know how much of an impact she made on my life. Like she's the reason I moved to Canada, because she moved across the world when she was younger to pursue her business, and if it weren't for her, I probably wouldn't have moved to Canada. And like that's why I kind of want to lead by example. That's why I always think like just like you having a personal brand is just like one of the most beneficial things you can do in business, but also just helping humanity and everyone really. Yeah, because people relate, you know.
No, yeah, exactly. I agree. And I think even when people ask me what I do, like I go to say I'm a podcaster, I'm like an owner of a media group and stuff like that, but it doesn't feel like that's not my role. Like that's sort of what I do to facilitate what I feel like my actual role is, if that makes sense. I feel like my wider role is a lot bigger than just, you know, like chatting on the podcast just for fun. Like you said, I feel like I'm coming on using the podcast as a way to sort of get more knowledge and share more knowledge and sort of, I don't know, contribute to this sort of, I don't know, like the great awakening some people are calling it. I feel like that's sort of where I'm going to. So yeah, I think you're right. People are so powerful.
No, but that's incredible, because I think also it's like realizing that although like you're learning all this now, like if like obviously you're passionate about it, but it's like you like just you learning this knowledge is like incredible. Like you can do anything you want really, like once you know this kind of information. So just like that's what I did for the first few years. I just literally engrossed myself in knowledge, and like the podcast will definitely like get bigger and bigger and everything like that. But I think also just the fact you're learning this in the first place is incredible, because you know the secret really, like you really just learning. That's like one thing I always say to people is just study and learn. And it becomes an obsession. Like I was even on the phone with my friend earlier, and we were saying like I could never go back to the way I used to be. Like once you get into this, like you're such a different person. Like you can't talk the way you used to, you can't think the way you used to. You like it just, everything changes, but it's like for the better obviously. But no, it's incredible.
Like that's what I'm glad you mentioned that, because that reminds me like about the sort of, you mentioned it, I think it was in one of your videos or a podcast about the death of the ego, and it's sort of that period where you get involved with all this stuff, everything sort of goes so positive, and then it feels like it crashes, because then you start realizing, okay, I don't really like who I was before. And perhaps even like with me, some of my old friends, I think I just can't talk about the same things, and it's just sort of that weird period.
Oh, I honestly, like, everyone goes through that. Like, once you get
Yeah.
into self-development, it's like, it's not saying like you're better than your friends or whatever, but like you're on such different wavelengths. Like, me and my friend are having this discussion on the phone, but it's like, it's a real thing, but it's all for the better. And I really believe like everything is going according to plan. And I think just looking after yourself internally, really, and not getting caught up. Like, for me, you know, my driver back in the day used to be money. Like, literally that's all it was. But now it's like so different from what it used to be. But it's just forgiving your past, because like your past is an illusion. It's not real. Like, if we were dogs, we wouldn't know what the past is. Like, we've been gifted a consciousness, right? Like, we've been gifted an imagination, which no other species on the planet can do except human beings. So I think just being the present moment now and just saying, what can I do now that will make me happy? Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that completely. Yeah, like everything else is sort of just happening, but what counts now is now and you.
Yeah.
I could speak to you for hours and hours, but I'm very conscious of the time, and I'm taking all your knowledge for free, So just to sort of close up on a few
Yeah.
final few things, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
So just to sort of tidy this up, make sure everyone that's listening now who would have got all this value from yourself, what should they be doing to sort of make help them get into more of a positive sort of circumstance? What are some of the things they should be doing? So journaling, manifesting, vision boards. Is there anything else?
Yeah. So I think just in general, going through spiritual journey, like the first piece of advice, like, it doesn't matter if you're starting a business, it doesn't matter. It's not to care what people think. Because I think that's like the biggest thing. Like, I used to be scared to read self-development books. I was like, shit, like sorry, I shouldn't curse. Like, people are like, oh my God, like they can see what I'm reading. Like, do not give a crap what anyone else thinks, because you're doing it for your benefit. You're doing it to make yourself happier. Like, why should you worry about the opinions of others to make yourself happy? So that's the first one. The second one is implement a morning routine. Absolutely crucial. I have a video on my YouTube morning routine, like they can check out on my channel, but morning routine is really crucial. And like in that, it's like the meditation, it's the journaling, it's visualization, it's all of those things. Just those two things, really. Oh, also don't take advice from people if they're going to put you down about something that you want. Just don't, unless it's encouraging, listen to them. But if it's discouraging, like, don't take their advice. Really, don't take anything personally, actually, at all, because anything people are saying is coming from the internal, external. So it's how they feel themselves if they're projecting it out. But don't care what people think. Morning routine, absolutely crucial. And just go for it. Like, life is meant to be fun. It's meant, and that intuition, like that soul calling, like that's what you were put here to do. And a lot of people did, like, push it away over time because college teaches us, oh no, you have to go for the safe route, like all of these sort of things, like they teach you, and then you go, well, what's this feeling inside that's telling me to do all of this? I don't know what this is. So they actually start to doubt themselves. But trust your intuition, really.
Love that. Thank you so much for that. Now, I've just before we close up, I'm really curious as to what's next for you, because it seems like you've grown a lot and developed a lot, like both personally from what I've seen on, like, from YouTube, and then the business side of things as well. So yeah, what's next for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with coronavirus, like, I want to be a public speaker. Like, I don't want to be like, I love YouTube, but like long term, like I want to be like Gabby Bernstein, or like I want to be a public speaker. But at the moment I'm writing a book, which is something that just feels so aligned right now. Like, before it didn't feel right, but I mean, I kind of don't want to bring out any more products in regards to like courses. Like, I just want to keep making those courses better. So for now it's writing a book, and then down the road I want to come out with my own journals, like my own guided journals. But I think writing my book at the moment and just continue with YouTube, like I'm just loving what's happening right now. Like, I don't really want to, like, I'm not like seeking the next thing. Like, I'm really happy with the way everything's going now, and I'm just kind of like riding the wave, I guess. So yeah.
Nice. That sounds really good. And finally, then, final question: what do you want your legacy to be? Because it sounds like you're aiming for the top. So yeah, what do you want to be known as?
I want to be known as a spiritual teacher to help people awaken, wake up, and realize that they really, you know, a lot of people, especially in 9 to 5 jobs, they don't have time to question the world or why they're even put here. And so I think it's just teaching people, because a lot of people do work corporate jobs. I want everyone to wake up to the power that they have and really just to question everything and listen to themselves, because people get so disconnected from who they really are. And they try and conform and wear masks for different people. So it's just helping people awaken, really. Because like a spiritual awakening, it like completely changed my life. Spirituality, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. Well, like I said, it sounds like you're on the right track anyway. So yeah, you don't need me to say it, but good luck. The floor's now yours. If you want to sort of get a final message out or tell people where to follow yourself, yeah, please do.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for listening. I had so much fun doing this. I love chatting to people. I could talk all day, literally, if you can't tell. Well, I mean, I have loads of platforms, but if you just look me up on YouTube, it's Ella Ringrose. And then my Instagram is Ella Ringrose. All my links are there. I have a podcast, but I mean, that's kind of chilled. But yeah, no, my YouTube is Ella Ringrose, and that's where I put all my main focus. But yeah.
Brilliant. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for all the advice.
Thank you so much, Ted.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
If only they knew, the hub for young business minds.